Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of infidelity, betrayal, and redemption. Please like and subscribe. Cheers. Now, on to today's story. I asked my wife for a paternity test and she basically said she wanted a divorce. Advice. I am convinced that my wife's son is not mine. I believe that her work husband, as she called him, is the actual father. Ever since the baby was born 3 months ago, I've had these thoughts brewing. I told my wife last night that I wanted a paternity test, and she said, I know that the test will come back with you as the father, but if you get one, consider our marriage over. I have small blue eyes, pale skin, and blonde hair, as do my parents, grandparents, and siblings. My wife has small blue eyes and red hair. Everyone in her family has either blue eyes and blonde or red hair. Yet, our baby was born with an olive skin tone, and huge brown eyes. You know who else has huge brown eyes and an olive skin tone? Her so-called work husband, Ryan, for the sake of the story, that I believed she may have had an affair with last year. One of my wife's co-workers is married to a co-worker of mine. He is the one who came to me and confided that his wife believed there was something fishy going on with my wife and Ryan. They were getting unnaturally close, spending time together alone even though they don't directly work together, and the way they were interacting with each other was causing rumors to spread throughout their office. His wife, knowing that he knew me, wanted to warn me that something may be up. I asked my wife about her relationship with Ryan, and she said he was her work husband. Just someone that she could trust and be herself with at work, unlike everyone else. I told her that I was extremely uncomfortable with the way their friendship sounded, and asked that they spend a little less time together. She agreed, and that was the end of it. A few months later, we discovered that she was pregnant. This was genuinely happy news for us both, and we were excited to become parents. At a baby shower planned by some of her work friends and held at her office, I met Ryan and got a good look of his appearance. My wife and I were in a great place and very happy the entire pregnancy, and we're super excited to welcome our little one. Yet despite always wanting to be a dad, when the baby was born, I didn't feel a connection to him. The first time he was put in my arms, I expected to be overtaken with emotions the way I'd always heard I would. It makes me feel like a jerk to say it, but I just felt kind of empty instead. I chalked it up to nerves/not being able to be in the room when he was born. As the months have passed and the baby has gotten bigger, I've noticed how little he looks like myself and my wife. His skin and hair have gotten darker, the nose doesn't seem to match either of ours, and he even has a cleft chin when no one in my family does, and none of my wife's come to mind that do either. Seeing him age has just furthermore just given me more doubts. Last night, I admitted to my wife my fears, and asked if there was a way that the baby wasn't mine. She reacted extremely negatively, as I figured, told me she'd never been more insulted, and said that she had never and would never cheat on me with Ryan or anyone. I told her for my peace of mind I wanted to have a paternity test, and that's when she said that if I got one she would consider our marriage over regardless of the test results. I know that if my wife actually was faithful, she has every right to be offended by concerns. But I'm of the mind that the fact that the child was conceived around the time she was hanging out with work husband and he has features that match him justify my concerns. And also I question how it's at all fair for my wife to want to leave me if the baby is both ours just because I wanted that confirmation. Do you think my wife's behavior is shady? Ladies, how would you respond in this situation if you were my wife? I wish I would have just swabbed the kid myself, and I probably will if she keeps acting irrationally. I just feel like her response is over the top and indicative that something did go on between her and Ryan. What are your thoughts? Might as well go for it. Either the kid comes back yours and you get a divorce, or you don't test at all and it eats you up for eternity. You've already broached the topic, so just go ahead and get the test. You need to figure out where you stand, in terms of being a parent, one way or the other for the sake of this child. Don't do that, let him bond with you, then ghost. He's innocent in all this and deserves a father who is going to be a father. Stay or go, but don't put off this decision. Figure this out ASAP. Either you're correct and your wife is a cheater and there's a huge breach of trust in this relationship, or you're wrong and became paranoid and unfair towards your wife, indicating a huge breach of trust in this relationship. Divorce doesn't sound like a bad step in either of these scenarios, TBH. You've spoken your mind. You have newfound suspicion. I don't understand your wife's ultimatum. You have suspicions about her being faithful equals stay together plus 2. You have suspicions about her being faithful and you want a test equals divorce. Why should the formality of a test have any bearing on the status of the relationship when she already knows you have fears about her being faithful? I guess I'm just confused by the whole thing. My husband has had a vasectomy, but last month I got a positive test, ended in early miscarriage. My husband said if the pregnancy had panned out he would have requested a paternity test, 100% certain it was his, no doubt, as I've never cheated. I said I understood and I really do. Personally, I think you have valid reasons for being suspicious and it would suck to be in your wife's shoes if she truly is innocent, but there are factors that would make me suspicious. That's a decision only you can make. Ancestry can play a part in all kinds of ways though. You should look through both sides of the kid's background. My son was born with violet eyes, they turned brown after 1.5 years. My parents both have dark hair and eyes, my brother is blonde. Genetics are hard to pin down. Serious question here, why ask her? Go get an at-home DNA test and send it in, send results to a secure location. Pay with PayPal or some other means that is not likely to be traced. She does not need to know. If child is yours, then destroy all evidence of the test, don't keep the results. Part of me truly believes that a man should have the same level of knowledge of paternity as the woman. A woman will know if the child is, could be, may be, or not the child of the claimed father. P.S. You have issues in your relationship that need to be addressed. This is a symptom, a big symptom, of some unhealthy behaviors and thoughts. I think as a husband and father I'd rather know. Maybe you could try explaining to her how much this means to you. Personally, I see it as a red flag. If I was in your place, then just get a test without letting her know. This is such a split thing. On one hand, her words are a reaction that you don't trust her, and getting the test means the trust is breached and a deal breakaway for her. But on the other hand, if she did cheat, this is some hardcore gaslighting you. I will say babies change a lot in the first few months. When I was a baby I literally had black hair, it all fell out and now I'm blonde. Also it takes months for them to develop permanent eye color. So how a baby looks now will change, they gain weight also and look different. So it's a gamble. Forced to take care of a baby that I'm pretty sure isn't mine. Need support. About a year ago, one of my buddies/co-workers who just so happens to be married to a woman that works with my wife Jane came to me and confided that his wife believed there was something fishy going on with my wife and a man named Ryan. They were getting unnaturally close, spending time alone behind closed doors even though they don't directly work together, and the way they were interacting with each other was causing rumors to spread throughout their office. I asked my wife about her relationship with Ryan, and she referred to him as her work husband and was adamant that their friendship was strictly platonic. I told her that I was extremely uncomfortable with the way their friendship sounded, and asked that they spend a little less time together. She agreed, and that was the end of it. A few months later, we discovered that she's pregnant. We were genuinely excited to become parents. I ended up meeting Ryan at a baby shower, and got a good look of his appearance. My wife and I were probably the happiest we'd ever been while she was pregnant. Then 3 months ago, she gave birth to a son. It didn't take long before I began to realize the baby looked nothing like the two of us. Jane and I have light-colored hair, pale skin, and blue eyes. Yet our son is several shades darker than us both, has brown eyes, dark hair, and even more oddly a cleft chin. Ryan has all of these features as well. The past 3 months I've been driving myself crazy wondering who the father actually is. Many friends and relatives who have seen the baby have made remarks about how little he resembles us as well. Anytime myself or something else has mentioned how odd he looks with us, Jane's just laughed and chucked it up to genetics being finicky. This week I couldn't take the thought of her having cheated on me, and I admitted to Jane my fears, and asked if there was a way that the baby isn't mine. She went ballistic. I told her for my peace of mind I wanted to get a paternity test, and she then threatened to divorce me for not trusting her. Her over-the-top reaction only made me more suspicious, and I went to another sub asking for advice, where I was provided a link to an article that proves that unless he's a genetic anomaly, her son didn't come from the two of us. I forwarded it to her, and she finally came clean about the affair. I've already gotten in touch with a lawyer, despite Jane promising me that everything between her and Ryan is over and her pleas to try and be a family of 3. She knows how much I love kids and is using that against me. I've bonded with her baby and I do love him, but I have no desire to raise another man's baby with my cheating soon-to-be ex-wife. We will be taking a paternity test soon, but neither myself or Jane are expecting it to come back a match. The problem is that now Jane is asking me to still watch her son. She recently had to return to work from maternity leave, and I had originally scheduled all of my vacation time for the year to watch the baby in between the end of Jane's maternity leave and her mom's return from California. So now I'm stuck having to care for the constant reminder of my wife's affair. Obviously it's not the baby's fault, but I can't even begin to tell you how much I don't want to spend the next 7 weeks bonding with this child. This all just sucks. I never expected to be in this situation, and I'm terrified that regardless of the paternity test I will still end up financially and legally responsible for this kid. Ryan wants out of the entire situation according to my wife. I don't even know what to do at this point, but I do know that I really hate the idea of being responsible for this kid, which just makes me feel guilty on top of depression. Lawyer here. Disclaimer, I am not your lawyer. You need to learn about a little something called the presumption of paternity. It varies state by state, but the general gist of it is this: any baby that is born into a marriage is legally presumed to be a child of the husband. The only way to rebut that legal presumption is by a court order. Importantly, most states set a time limit on which you can try to rebut that presumption of paternity, often within as little as 2 years from the date of the child's birth. If you don't at least file your challenge in court by the date prescribed by law, then you will forever be presumed by law to be the child's father, regardless of what DNA evidence can prove. That means you will have all legal and financial obligations that a parent has for a child. Read that again: all legal and financial obligations that a parent has for a child. Bottom line is, it will lead to you owing things like child support for a child that isn't genetically yours. I see you have a lawyer. I would suggest discussing this matter with your lawyer. Ask them about going ahead and filing the paperwork to challenge paternity. Have your wife's affair partner named in that suit as the likely father of the child. That child deserves financial support, and it should come from the man who is responsible for creating the child. This is truly a situation of you snooze, you lose. Don't fall asleep on your rights. Ask your lawyer about how to get the challenge paperwork on file. Once you do that, then you can decide if you want to go through with disestablishing your paternity. But at least have everything in place so you can protect your rights no matter how you want to proceed. Thank you. I absolutely told my lawyer that I suspect the baby isn't mine. Since he's only 3 months old, I have some hope the legal system will work in my favor. Also, telling your lawyer I don't think the baby is mine is not the same as telling your lawyer, I don't think the baby is mine and I want you to take the steps needed to get my paternity as established. Make it very clear what you want your lawyer to do. While you have legal rights, the ultimate court inquiry will always be, what is in the best interests of the child? The longer you wait, and the more you bond with the child, the more the equities could ultimately weigh in favor of forcing you to keep some kind of bond with the child, especially if your state doesn't have very clear statutes on the presumption of paternity. This isn't something to take a wait-and-see approach on. The sooner it's all done the better as far as I'm concerned. Woman accused me of being the father of her son from an ONS. I'm no lawyer, but I suggest doing everything he just stated. When I tell you the courts don't listen to you no matter how loud you scream, it's like you are not even there. There was a mix-up where I went to the wrong courtroom and waited to hear my name. When I finally realized I was in the wrong courtroom and got to the right one, I realized the courts decided to give me a child for 18 years. Mind you, they sent the wrong paperwork to me and didn't care as I showed it to them. After almost a year's wages garnished, I finally got the magistrate to reopen the case and order a DNA test, and what do you know, I'm not the father. I guess when she told me she was 3 months pregnant when I slept with her 4 months prior didn't add up unless my sperm took a 1-month rest on its journey to her eggs. Trust me, your STBXW is not on your side and neither is the courts. Start the process tomorrow. Not sure which state you're in, but my husband was married to a girl who he had a son with. I say it in quotes BC, it was just BC. They dated and he thought she was going to get deported, but they were never really in a marriage like we are. They got divorced and I refused to marry him if he didn't get a DNA test with his divorce. The kid was 4 and turned out to not be his. I wasn't surprised at all, but he was. And the judge did not make him legally responsible for anything. He also wasn't on the birth certificate cause they weren't married when the kid was born, but they were dating. The judge never asked to see the birth certificate anyway. 100% you need to get a court-ordered DNA test. We're in Illinois BTW. Unfortunately, it depends on the judge. If it's some liberal feminist one, he's screwed. Let me ask you a question, since you are a lawyer. If I were to leave the home tonight, could I get into any legal trouble when she has no one to watch the baby tomorrow morning? Can't say for sure, but my gut says yes. As of now, you are that child's legal father. You will remain in that capacity until you get relief from a court. I wouldn't risk being charged with child abandonment. This would be a better question for your lawyer, who is most familiar with your state's laws. Thank you. Jane told me that, and I was hoping it was a lie. She is extra trash for expecting Op to babysit her love child as if all is normal. She obviously has no empathy for her STBX husband or her new baby. If I were in her shoes, no matter how awesome Op normally is, they would be the last person I would expect to be a childminder for my extramarital affair kid. At least while everything is up in the air and tense. I don't even know how to explain it. I agree. What made her admit the affair? And did you inform her that you'll be divorcing her? I sent her a link that someone on the other thread provided to me that basically all but proved he's not our son. Then she came clean. I absolutely told her I want a divorce. Was it the eye color thing? Yep. What was her reaction? Did she try to convince you against it? Lol, she started with how it was all a mistake that she never wanted me to hear about because she didn't want to lose me, and then told me, you know, Ryan doesn't want to be with me, like that is supposed to make me feel better. I won't be someone's second choice. Wow, she sounds so pathetic and selfish. Me. Typical cliche cheater. You know Ryan doesn't want to be with me. Holy shit, dude. She should have just kicked me in the balls. Felt about the same. Sorry man, hope the divorce goes as smooth as possible for you. And I hope the next lady in your life will treat you, and your balls, a trillion times better. You know Ryan doesn't want to be with me. Isn't that the most pathetic ploy for sympathy ever? She got rejected too, so you should raise another man's baby and pay for everything whilst she hides all that betrayal under the veneer of your marriage. Cheaters really do go full narcissist when they are caught. Trying to pull at my heartstrings. She knows I love babies and wouldn't want hers to suffer. Ryan doesn't want to be with me. What kind of a statement is that? Is that supposed to make you feel better? Sounds like if he did she'd be gone. Glad you are divorcing. You don't deserve that. You think if she loved you and wanted to be with you that she would have argued that she didn't want to be with Ryan, not the other way around. She will try crying back to you. When she uses any form of ad misericordiam, Google it if you don't know, just tell her it's not your problem. Well, sounds like he is going to be in her life for a while with this kid. Her original response to you asking for a paternity test is classic gaslighting. Sorry, but you are not the father and the boss will soon not have a job. It also made me sick hearing Ops say how she just brushed the guy off with "oh babe, that's just my work husband." Gaslighting is hardly the right phrase for it, this is more like gas flaring in an oil field. The whole work husband thing rubbed me the wrong way. Yay, if I ever heard my girl say that, it would be red flags all over. Not common to have a work wife or work husband. So dumb to use that excuse, it's kinda funny, unless you're married but to the co-worker. I know one woman who calls a man her work husband and she is a chief financial officer of a good firm. I know for a fact that she is completely innocent, but her asshole husband who never uses phrases like that is a sleazy dirtbag who cheats on her left and right. My husband used to work with a woman who had the same name as me. One day she said, "You're his wife and I'm his work wife." I looked her straight in the eye and said, "So and so only has one wife, and that is me." She withered. And that was that. The whole work spouse thing is weird to me. Oh babe, that's just my work husband who impregnated me and I've passed off his baby as your dude. And all the other women in the last post going off how they would be so insulted if their husbands asked this, completely overlooking the fact of all the shady things leading up to this moment. Hate how it was being turned on him and how many of them don't believe in men having the right to be able to know 100% if the child is his or not upon birth. It's like they want to keep the ability to deceive men when it comes to paternity. Despicable. Wonder how many women who defended the wife in the last post will comment in the update. I would do anything to make my partner feel safe and secure no matter the situation. Has she spoken to Ryan about it? Did she know it was not your kid the entire time? Did she give you any details on how long the affair lasted? Sucks man, at least you have a prenup and it's early enough that the baby will not remember you. She claims it was only one time they ever had sex, and that she was hoping that I was the dad, but once the baby came it was pretty evident that Ryan was the father. I don't believe anything coming from her mouth though, so who knows, that's just what she told me. Ryan knows but wants out of the situation. Ryan has known the whole time. Kept it secret, and now that it is out he wants out of the situation. Quite a work husband your wife picked there. What an asshole. Ha 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 ha, duck that piece of shit, Ryan. Here's to 18 years of child support. Go out to buy a lottery ticket. I know you don't feel this way, but finding out what trash you're married to is, and the kid is not yours, is winning. Perhaps it was. You mentioned you didn't notice any other issues, late night at work, etc. Not that it changes anything really. She had unprotected sex with him and was happy to roll dice regarding who was the father. Yeah, and lie about it for over a year and gaslight me when I came to the truth, which is 100% more unforgivable. My mind is still blown. Like, did she really not think you'd notice the child wasn't yours? I called my mom earlier to tell them the good news, and I guess even my parents who've only been able to see pics could tell there was no way he was biologically mine. I don't know what state you're in, but Carly is notorious for screwing dads or dad figures. Hire your lawyer ASAP and get your name removed from the birth certificate. With your name on it, even with a paternity test, she can try and get you for child support, even after admitting to the affair because you assumed parental rights. Be smart and act quickly. Thanks for the update, depressing as it is. I think you should tell Ryan's wife about this, as he's not only been cheating, but he's more than likely to start having another financial obligation that she didn't sign up for. I know you've got a lot on your plate, but I wouldn't want her to be left with her husband's bad choices. I hope the divorce goes smoothly, without any crazy drama from the cheaters, and you're able to move on. Therapy might be helpful. I know in your first post you said that this has been bugging you for a while, and you felt bad interacting with the baby while having these doubts in your head. You're a good dude, and I'm sorry that your wife took advantage of that. Wow. That's all I can say. May I ask though, what provoked you to ask for the paternity test in the first place? Once the baby was born and he looked suspiciously like her work husband, I just couldn't look past the genetic odds. Really sorry about that. Work husbands, work wives, best friends of the opposite sex while in a relationship, it's all bullshit and we shouldn't let anyone fool us into accepting it, no matter how controlling or insecure we are perceived for not accepting that in our relationships. And for all the stupid fools in the previous comments that mentioned how they would have reacted the same way if my husband asked for a paternity test because of how little he trusts me, go duck yourselves. I was really shocked how many people were ignoring all the evidence that something was up and just trying to make me out to be insecure. There can only be so many coincidences before you have to confront the reality that something's afoot. Yeah, never mistrust your gut instincts/intuition. Verify your instincts if you have to, but don't simply dismiss them. How long were you together? Never saw the original post. Trust me, this could have had a way more dirty outcome. You'll overcome this. I suggest getting a therapist, proactively. It might not feel necessary now, but you'll thank yourself for it later. Best of luck. We've been married for 3 years, together in all for 7. Such a waste of time. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Please comment, like and subscribe. Cheers. Have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are.